More social media companies are revealing their plans to deal with political ads on their platforms. Over the last week, Google and Snapchat announced their policies ahead of the 2020 election.
The move comes as Facebook faces criticisms for its policy. CEO Mark Zuckerberg says his platform will run political ads even if they contain false information in the name of free speech. Axios media reporter Sarah Fisher details the latest changes in her latest reporting. She joins us now from Washington. So Sarah, take us through the changes for Google and for Snapchat.
Yeah, so it used to be that all of these companies had pretty relaxed policies around political ads, and nobody thought anything of it. But now that most campaigns spend the majority of their time thinking about digital ads on platforms like Facebook or Snapchat, they're scrambling to figure out, how do we make these policies work? How do we make sure there's no misinformation? How do we make sure that they're not targeting people with bad content? So what Google said this week is that they're going to limit the way that you can target somebody politically. One, you can't target somebody by their political affiliation. So I can't just target you with an ad because you're a Republican. And two, I can no longer use really targeted data like an email list and match it to Google's data to target people really narrowly. The reason Google's doing that is because if campaigns can't target super narrowly, it's harder for them to spread misinformation to a particular group of people, like misinformation around immigration to people who might live in areas where there is a heavy immigrant population. What Snapchat is saying is very different from Facebook. They say they're going to fact-check political ads, as we've heard over and over. Facebook says they won't do that. So what I'd say is interesting here is there's no black and white approach. Every platform is going to do something different in accordance to their values.
And is Twitter still saying that they're just not going to allow political ads at all?
Yeah, Twitter said, shockingly, that they were going to ban political ads a few weeks ago. And what happened was they got a lot of pushback from people that are saying, look, you're going to let a for-profit company, like an oil and gas company, talk about how great that industry is, and that's not technically political, but you're not going to let a nonprofit talk about the effects of climate change. So Twitter kind of had to make adjustments to the policy. They came out and said, look, here's what the exceptions are going to be around these rules. So like they said, they are going to ban them, but there's going to be some exceptions around what exactly gets banned so that they're not going to face too much blowback from some of those nonprofits that just want to kind of rebuff the for-profit messaging.
So I guess the question is, are these changes being made in order to simply separate themselves from Facebook, or do companies truly want to stand with policing political content?
Well, I think there's definitely political reasons for why they're doing this. Look, Twitter announced that they were banning political ads an hour before Facebook's earnings call a few weeks ago. Google dropped their big announcement right ahead of yesterday's political debates, where inevitably candidates were going to be talking about, you know, Facebook and big tech and all that kind of stuff. So I do think they're trying to position themselves away from Facebook. We're taking action and Facebook's not. But I also think part of this really is aligned with their values. Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, talks a lot about how the internet is a nation state of its own, and that instead of trying to create rules for it, you have to adhere to the rules of it. This is very different from Facebook, which in many countries acts like the internet itself. And so I think it's a combination of both incentives. One, they want to politically separate themselves from Facebook, which is the target of a lot of lawmakers right now. But two, they want to craft policies that are more in line with their values.
So it occurred to me when you were sort of explaining what Google's plan is that something similar might work with Facebook if they sort of limited the amount of the control that they had in terms of targeting certain people. I don't know if that would be considered fair or unfair, but with all of this criticism, is Facebook showing any signs of maybe revising its policy?
Well, it's interesting. We had reporting a few weeks ago that they were considering revising its policies. And then a few days ago, their VP of Marketing Solutions, Carolyn Everson, went on stage and says that banning micro-targeting was off the table. She then walked that back to me afterwards saying, look, it's not totally off the table. I shouldn't have been so definitive with my language. Then there's been reporting that says that Facebook might limit the amount of people that you could target. So instead of being able to target just hundreds of people, you'd have to target a lot bigger groups. I think ultimately Facebook stands for free speech. They think that giving people the opportunity to run political ads and target them as they wish is a form of political speech. but they're under so much pressure that it wouldn't surprise me if they did start to tinker with some rule changes that are similar to Google's. I got to say, though, I don't think they'll go as far as Google, definitely not as far as Twitter, just because Mark Zuckerberg's ethos, his mission, is to keep a really open internet, and that's just not aligned with banning political ads in his mind.
So as we head closer and closer to the next presidential election, is there a sense that social media companies are looking to do more to police content and more specifically, I guess, to prevent foreign influence online?
Yeah, they're definitely trying to do more. And one of the reasons that they're trying to do more is because they're under a ton of regulatory scrutiny. You have presidential candidates, you have members in the Justice Department that are saying, hey, maybe we should break up Facebook. Maybe we should break up Google. If they can't regulate their platforms to the point where they're not harmful, then maybe they shouldn't be as big as they are. And so the major incentive for these companies to look at cleaning up misinformation, falsehoods, and ads is so that people don't think that they can't control themselves and want to break them up. I see the biggest change between now and Election Day is being with targeting of ads. People are going to limit how narrowly you could target them, and also how much they really do police misinformation. You know, Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snapchat, coming out this week and saying, look, we are hiring fact checkers to fact check ads. The first time he's ever really said that is an example of that kind of move.
All right, Sarah Fisher, thank you very much.
Thank you.